We've talked about how CBC is structured. We've talked about how people progress. We've talked about the history, how it came up to be. But now what matters on a day-to-day basis, okay? For teachers, for parents, we are all very primary stakeholders in this. We're very involved, and we're involved on behalf of our students, our children, so that we can guide them through the process. So the question becomes, what truly matters going forward? I ask this question because we are all seeking to know what is the best kind of education that we can give to our children at whatever social, economic level we are. So the question then is it that when you go to a more expensive school, things are better? Is it that when you buy some books, your children learn better? Is it that when you get them to study longer hours, things are better? What matters, okay? That is a very important thing to think about with regard to this whole arrangement of CBC. All those things I've said might matter for you, depending on your circumstances, but it's very important to reflect all the time as teachers and as parents about what truly matters, and therefore, what kind of decisions do we make? And to get into it, I'll say this. When it comes to CBC, one of the things that matters the most is assessment of the children. As the process of assessment is a very important process, and it's a process that has really come to the front when it comes to CBC. By assessment, I don't mean testing. Big difference, okay? You don't go for a driving assessment. You go for a driving test to determine whether you can drive, you can be allowed to drive or not. You don't take a malaria assessment. You take a malaria test, okay? So that we can determine whether you have a malaria. You don't take a COVID assessment, okay? You take a COVID test so that we can determine, do you have COVID or you don't have? That's what tests are all about. Tests are they're more black or white. But with CBC, we are promoting the culture of very meaningful assessment more and more. And in particular, this thing called formative assessment. Formation, okay? Assessment that can help to form the kind of knowledge and skills in these kids that we need. It's a very big difference from testing. Testing is you don't know what the capital of Namibia is, Therefore, you are that category versus assessment where are you now? What do you know now? What are you capable of now? How can we help you to take the next steps? I'm not saying testing is bad. Testing is absolutely crucial. It plays a very important role. In fact, some assessments we do can be tests, but I don't want to confuse things, okay? I'm basically saying that the biggest difference and what matters the most in CBC right now is assessment and the whole culture of assessment and the way we perform assessments. So for you teachers, it's a very important thing to be able to understand how to assess under CBC. For parents as well, it's very crucial that you understand the role of assessment and how assessment looks like in CBC. And you see this all the time through the homework assignments you're told to do with the kids and through all the other feedback that you're asked to give and to be involved in. So assessment is one of the biggest things that matters the most. Hand in hand with assessment, and the thing that matters the most also is feedback. Giving feedback. I perhaps had mentioned earlier about the visible learning theory and the way and in the research they did, they found that assessment and giving feedback rank very high among the factors that affect the quality of education we give more than anything else. Put it another way, you could, if you focus on assessing correctly and giving really meaningful feedback, that can be way better than taking your child to a very expensive school where that is not done. Okay? That's basically what I'm saying. It's very profound to know that what truly matters is if we're able to assess meaningfully and correctly and give feedback that's very useful, that can make all the difference that we need to see in the education of our children. I am not dismissing expensive schools. I'm not dismissing very specialized environments of learning and all those things. I'm not dismissing any of those things. All, as we said earlier on, once again, everything we try to do for the development of our kids helps and it matters. But what matters the most